Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I'm Karen E. Osborne. I hope you know that and that you've been watching this show from the beginning. I think we're up to like 54, 55 episodes, and I hope that you have been enjoying them. And today you're going to meet a fascinating woman, somebody quite different from anybody that we've chatted with up until now. So I'm going to introduce you, and I'm just going to read what I lifted from her lovely website. So her name is Pat George. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right. Walker. This accomplished Christian author and comedian, now just think about those two things together, has an amazing mind and talent for turning her observations of church life into gems of side-splitting humor. An award-winning author and comedian, Pat has 12 books published. I am trying to catch up with her. And she, in addition, she's a stand-up comedian, actress, singer, and successful entrepreneur. She is also a former member of R&B's legendary girl group, Arlene Smith and the Chantels, and the gospel groups, the Spiritualettes and the Heavenly Two. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I am so excited to be here. And you know why.
Well, you know, it's so interesting, audience. Pat and I went to high school together and didn't know that, or, you know, I mean, now we've connected all the dots of all the people that we both knew, but here I am having the pleasure of speaking to a fellow Bronxite from Evander Childs High School. Who knew? So Pat, I'm really hard pressed to know where to start because you have done so many things and I want to hear all about it. But since this is primarily a reading and writing show, let's start here and tell us how you got into Christian writing.
Well, how I got into Christian writing. Let's go way back. Okay. Both my parents were preachers and pastors, so I was a PK kid. And I would go to church and hear a wonderful sermon, and then somebody would say something crazy before I could get out the door, and I couldn't say anything back. So I would go home and I'd write these little monologues and little stories, and I started giving the people the names that were according to their attitude or the way they acted. So there would be Reverend Not Enough Money, or Bishop Was Never Called, or Mother Pray On, Deacon Laid Hands, you know, things of that nature. And I would write it for myself. And then every once in a while, when there was a church program or something, I would get up and I would say a monologue, you know, based on the church story that I'd write. Oh, and the name of the church was "There Ain't Nobody Right But Us, All Others Going to Hell." So, and now fast forward, I got into the recording business. I came off of the entertainment side and got into the actual industry. So I was working for Epic Records and Columbia Records and Def Jam Records and S&B Records and things of that nature. And from there, I started managing different artists. You know, I gave R&B singer Joe his first hit. You know, so I was doing things like that. And I had an album that I was producing that was going to be put out by Rough House Records. And they decided they weren't going to put the album out because they had this girls group that they wanted to put out instead called Destiny's Child.
Wow.
Okay, Beyonce and the girls. So I had nothing to do. And one of my friends who wrote the story, rather, Soul Food, the Joyce Berkshire, says to me, she said, well, you're talking about these little crazy stories you got, put one out, you know, do you? Because I was doing promotion and marketing. So I got a little story. I knew nothing about the, publishing industry, but I knew all about the recording industry. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to take one of those little short stories and I'm going to put it out like you would do with an album. You take, a single off the album, you put it out there. I didn't know that was a no-no. Okay,
Mm.
I had no idea. It was only 22 pages, but I knew how to promote it. And that's why I say if God gives you a little and you're faithful, he will turn it into much. That little 22-page story, which I showed before, didn't even have a spine, went into bookstores, it went into libraries, it went into distributors. They couldn't keep up with the demand. I couldn't keep up with it either. So my attorney decided he would invest in me, and we mass marketed, and from that, I got a major publishing deal with Kensington Books.
Wow. That's
Okay,
a
one
great
story.
story. Oh my goodness. And so when you
So
got the major deal, then you had to finish, you have to put all those little stories together?
I did. And what Kensington did was they reissued it as a collection. And the first book that I put out was called Sister Betty, God's Calling You. But when they purchased all of my stories and released it again in a collection form, it was called Sister Betty, God's Calling You Again.
Mm.
So it was a collection of about, I think it was either 7 or 9 stories. I don't remember. Now, Karen, here's the interesting thing. I had no idea that it had never been done before. I had no idea that there was not a genre called Christian comedy until I created it. Well, I'll say me and God created it.
Yes, yes. So now what did your pastor parents think about your comedy?
Well, they've passed on, but they didn't have a clue. They didn't know. My father was Baptist, my mother was Pentecostal, so there was plenty of material for me to work with. But no, they passed on before I really hit.
Before you really hit, before
Yeah.
they didn't get to see your irreverent but wonderful, wonderful
But
story.
however, some of the members, when I started writing about the church that I, eventually attended, after my parents passed on, they recognized some of the people. And although I did my best to hide the names of the guilty, some of them would come up to me and say, okay, I know who you're talking about. I know, you need to stop. I know who you're talking about. But it was not a judgmental thing. It was because we can't say that we love God and be so mean and nasty to one another.
Yes.
So that's what I was trying to show, that I would rather be a sermon than hear a sermon.
Yes. That's a great line.
And I did it and through humor.
Through humor. And so that's what led also to the stand-up?
Actually, the stand-up came before that. I was doing that like off and on, just have something to do. And then I created a one-woman show, which is called, Sister Betty, God's Calling You. And I was traveling all over. I was doing cruise ships and theaters and, different colleges and all kinds of events. And that also gave the publishing company a platform because I already had the audience.
Yes.
So I was just taking it to another level. But my name was already out there. And even to this day, people still call me Sister Betty. I even got a few checks that were written as Sister Betty, and I had to send them back and say, you know what?
Can't catch this.
I don't have an account.
So when you think about this storied career, when you think about writing, stand-up, singing, acting, producing, which of those many, many creative things do you love the most? Which fills you up the most?
Well, because I have not decided what I want to be when I grow up yet, it's kind of hard to say, but I tell you what gave me an idea of what I might eventually want to be, and that was Maya Angelou. I had a chance to talk with her one time. This was back in the 70s, and way before I hit, so to speak. And I expressed to her that I too wanted, to write. I didn't know what I wanted to write because then I was writing songs, and lyrics and stuff like that. And the one piece of advice she gave me was always be honest. Now, I was in such awe, I could not ask her, what are you talking about? What do you mean? It took me years to figure out what she meant. And what she meant was be you. Don't try to be anybody else. You don't care who's got a hit out or who's got a bestseller out. Do you, because your readers will know if you're not being honest. So when you ask me, which one is could be my favorite, all of them have an element of that in it. So they're like my children, whether it's performing or stand up or doing a play, because I also write plays and skits and stuff like that. Because there's that element of what she told me in it, it's kind of hard for me to say, okay, well, this one is my favorite or that one's my favorite.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And also, what great advice. So many people said to me after my first book came out, they said, oh, are you going to write a sequel? And I said, no. I know that's smart. That's smart for a marketing perspective, that when you have series, but I had another story in me that didn't have anything to do with the first one. And so then I wrote the second one, Tangled Lies, and somebody asked me and said, oh, this is such a great duo, these two.
You're going to do the series.
And I said, no, I've already written the third book. It has nothing to do.
See, you get trapped by that. You can get trapped because I almost burned out doing Sister Betty because my intention was to put out those 7 or 9 stories and that was it. But then the audience, my readers demanded, okay, well, what else are they getting into? Because what happened was I kept putting my characters in familiar situations. And there's so many familiar situations. So when I thought I was finished with a book, well, what is this character doing? And then the other thing was I had a whole congregation of characters and every one of them was just as crazy as the next. So if I finish something on Mother Prayer, well, what are you going to do about Deacon Laid Hands? If I finish something on here, what are you going to do about, Pastor Bling Mo Bling? It was crazy. And when my husband passed about 8 years ago, I stopped writing, even though there was a demand for it, with a Sister Betty. It took me a minute to recover, my humor. And the one thing I'll say about readers, which takes me back to what Maya Angelou told me about being honest, because I was honest when I wrote, I didn't try to be anybody else. My readers stayed with me.
Yeah.
Even to this day, they stayed with me.
That's wonderful.
So, you do you, Karen. No matter how many people ask you about a series, you do you. Because if you don't, that series could flop.
Yes, exactly. You got to write what's in your heart.
There you go.
Are you working on something now?
Oh my goodness, yes.
So tell us.
I'm involved in an anthology. If you go on Amazon, you look for Queens of the Castle series. I just finished that one. There was a fact fiction anthology that I did called Choices. It was it's an inspirational series called Hearts, Mary Hearts, and then I have 2 more books that I have to do this year. Last year I did Fire in the Water. Well, some of my books on the background there. I did Fire in the Water and Heaven Can Be Hell. Excuse me. Now, Heaven Can Be Hell caused a little stir because I'm the type of writer. If I see something that I feel needs to be addressed, I will address it. I will be respectful, but I will address it. And I wanted to talk about sex in the church, but I needed to do it in a humorous way. So it was quite interesting. A lot of people said, well, okay, where's she going with this? And my thing is the marriage bed is undefiled. What you do is your business. Stop judging people.
Stop judging. Yeah.
Stop judging.
Stop judging. That's absolutely, that's great.
I
That's
should have poured some
great
water.
advice.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
audience. My son-in-law is cooking fish. Excuse me.
It's nice that you have a son-in-law who's cooking for you.
Not cooking for me.
Oh, no?
No. He's downstairs because I have a 2-family house. So he's downstairs cooking fish. And I guess he doesn't know how to cook fish, fry fish, because it's
Quietly.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then I did another one about revenge, which I just loved. It's called Fire in the Water. And it was about a woman who thought that this man had left her for no good reason when he left to save her life. And she decided that she wasn't going to wait for God to get to him. She was going to do it. So she just put all her faith, left it at the altar, told Jesus, I'll be right back, and she went on to try and do this man in. And I don't want to give away the ending, but people were like, whoa, okay, we can't do that, because when you dig one grave, dig two.
Yes. I could talk to you all day.
I could talk to you too. It was wonderful.
So now, where can our audience find you? Now, one place is Amazon. They can go and find your books and buy her books on Amazon. But where else can they find you?
Oh, well, Barnes and Noble, or wherever they're selling books. Also, if you go to my website, you can get access to a comedy show. You can see, because I'm on YouTube doing Sister Betty. There's more information. You can sign up for my mailing list, for my newsletter.
They can do that from your website?
My website.
And tell us what your website
sisterbetty.com.
is. Say it again.
sisterbetty.com. Real simple. There you go.
Easy peasy. Excellent. And you're on YouTube as Sister Betty as well?
Yes. If you go to my website, there's a link, and when you click on it, it takes you right to it.
Excellent. Well, I can see how I am just going to enjoy laughing this evening as I go to your website and your YouTube channel. And one of the things that the church that I belong to is a book club. And so I am sending this video to my pastor so that she can pick one of your books and we can talk about it in our Christian book club.
Well, you know what you tell her? Just tell her that Sister Betty said, look, honey, look, don't let worry kill you all. You let them church folks help. That's my tagline. That's my tagline.
It was such a pleasure speaking to you. And I thank you so much for joining us. And I thank all of you for watching. I hope that you laughed as much as I laughed through this whole interview. I hope that you will go and visit sisterbetty.com. You'll watch her videos, you'll buy her books, you'll sign up on her website. I hope you will also lift and look at Tangled Lives and Getting It Right. And you know that Reckonings is coming out next year in June. I'm so excited. So thank you so much for being with us. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for having me. Evander Tigers, go.
Go Tigers.